Well, hello everyone. How is everyone doing? I am so excited to be here. My name is Katie Brenner, and also to many of you, I am known as Katie B. Hair. And we are here with the Freedom Academy. And this is a new experience that Rusk is doing that I am super excited about. It's going to bring community together. It's going to give a place for us that's off the social media where there's so much negativity, so much random stuff. You don't know what's real education, what's good advice. And you guys can all come here. And myself and Matt Sweeney are going to be here to support you guys. And mine is going to be called The Sweet Life because, as many of you know, I am a suite owner. And I'm going to focus on talking about how I've been successful in my suite, financially, emotionally, dealing with clients. And then on the other part today, I'm going to be showing you guys a really fun technique. And this is going to happen every Wednesday. So it's going to be like our little meet here. And if you guys have any questions at all, free education is the best. And you guys are going to get a load of it. So if you guys have questions, put them below. I am making sure to keep an eye on them. And if I don't see them, I do have my little hair bestie in here, Ashley from Rusk. She'll be able to answer anything if I don't see it. So let's get into it. First, I want to talk about being in a suite and being independent and what that means. That means you have to be an accountant. That means you have to be a salon owner with ordering product. That means you have to be all these hats of photographer, marketing, and how can we be successful at doing that? And I like to break it down. And today I really want to talk about how to really optimize opportunities that come our way. For me to sit here in front of you guys is an opportunity that I really, really had to work for and wasn't given to me. And there's no magic equation. There's nothing to get to that end goal except for hard work and showing up. I always envisioned myself being, big hairstylist up on stage, teaching, helping others. And along that journey, it's finding the right opportunities and finding your voice and finding who you are can be really hard, especially when you're an independent stylist in a studio. I have been very fortunate to really lean into social media. Being all alone in my studio, my family has become all my hair besties on Instagram, TikTok, and even YouTube. And that's also where opportunities have come for me. So I think I really leaned into it hard when COVID happened because I couldn't work for, I think it was like 6 or 8 weeks. And mind you, when I went on maternity leave, I took 3 weeks off. Girl likes to work. So I was sitting home and I'm like, well, what can I do with my time? How can I make money? I'm still having to pay rent in my studio. How do I do this? And I had already developed a clientele with my social media. I was taking photos of all my work and I was creating a digital portfolio. But now I needed to create opportunities for myself. And doing so, I had to go, okay, what do I want to do? Do I want to be an educator? Do I want to be a platform artist? And what I started to do with my social media is I did a ton of education. I wanted to be educator again because prior to COVID, I was an educator and had a whole other life prior to me with Rusk. And I'm like, okay, I want to get back into education. So everything I'm going to share is going to be education driven. And I'm going to tag the brand that I want to get the attention of. And that's very important too when you are using your social media or your faces out there. If you're wanting to get the attention of that brand, tag just them and don't use competitors in it. And that was a key is Rusk found me on social media. And so I started tagging them more and using more and more of their products. And that's when I really, really started to hone in on opportunities. And I was able to do campaigns with several brands. When those campaigns come to you, you guys would be shocked how much income you can make off of your social media for a campaign with a brand. You don't see you don't see commercials on TV anymore, really for anything but maybe like Pantene and Tresemme, but we're not going for those. What brands do is we're hitting their specific audience. So if you're creating content and you're using their product, they're going to want to use you for campaigns for new launches. And me honing into that allowed me to be the sole income for my family. And, I aligned with other brands. I was doing campaigns. My youngest daughter, Harper, those of you that follow me, when COVID happened, she has what's called viral induced asthma. And the smallest cold she gets, she turns blue and stops breathing. So my husband and I were back and forth, like, who doesn't work? And I had just built my clientele, but he had the corporate job. And these opportunities that came knocking at my door for me putting myself out there, my work out there, I was able to make him a stay-at-home dad, and he was able to take care of her through that storm. It was awful. It was awful, but he was able to stay home with her because these brands reached out to me and I was able to make up for the income. And it's given me a much bigger platform and it put me right here in front of you guys. So if you are even like burnt out, you're like, where do I go? What can I do in this industry? There's so many opportunities. You just have to find the avenue. And even if you think you found the avenue, you might need to pivot. Like I thought I was supposed to own a salon. I thought that was the end all be all, you've made it. And I was offered to purchase 2 salons and I got approved from the bank to open up my own salon. And when it came down to it, I had that like gut feeling that was like, I don't know if you should do it. And I'm like, why am I not wanting this? And I think it's because I'm here. I was meant to be here with you guys. So really keeping your eyes open for those opportunities. And, burnout's real. Burnout is a big thing. And so if you're just working behind the chair nonstop, how can you get that fire back? What other avenues? Is it maybe doing bridal hair, getting into editorial? Maybe it's giving back to, homeless for you, going to like the homeless shelters and doing haircuts. Find that passion. We are so fortunate with what we do. It's endless amount of opportunities and avenues if you really look out there. And if you guys need any help and you're like, I'm stuck, I don't know what to do, how can I move forward? That's what I recommend. And that's going to help grow you as a stylist too. This industry is full of opportunities. You got that right. Like when I was in beauty school, I remember them talking about like all the other opportunities that you could do besides a stylist. And I was like, wait, I thought you could just work behind the chair or maybe work in a school. But there's so many other avenues, you guys, maybe you've hit a point in your career where you're just like, my body can't function anymore. Reach out to brands and you can work with them as director of education behind the scenes. That's what helps these brands thrive is stylists like us going in behind the scenes and working. There's also, education, there's platform artists, there's editorial, there's endless amounts, and I could go on. So that is my spiel on opportunities. My next up is profit. You want to make sure you are profiting as much as you can when you're behind the chair. And one of the big things that I have learned to profit is with color. Inflation is insane right now, you guys. And I know you guys are feeling it. Like, when you're going to the color store and you're purchasing a few things and you're like, oh my God, that was a lot of money. Kind of same thing when we're at the grocery store. Like today, I got five things and it was $32. I was like, say what? So being able to profit behind the chair, we need to make sure we're thinking. And the first thing that I think of is color, right? That's where a lot of our money goes into. You need to look at how much color is in that tube and what you are paying for it. And when it comes to Rusk is, and I can say this very proudly, we are the #1 color tube for like, you're going to get the most amount of color in that tube for the best price with the best luxury high-end results ingredients in it. So that's why I have transferred over with making my income with using specifically Rusk and 10, because now I have a lot of color, 3.4 ounces in that tube of color, because there's some tubes, there's not much in there. With Rusk and 10 and Deep Shine Permanent, you guys are getting the bang for the buck. So usually with one tube of color, I can maybe do one touch up, one gray root touch up. With my Rusk and 10, especially because you can mix it 1-to-1 or 1-to-2, I'm going to be able to do 2 color applications with that one tube of color. And that is where you need to find those little bits of finding how to save your money and how to profit. You know, looking at how much all your color is. I was shocked for how long I was going, and I was purchasing my color and I'd be like, oh, it's that much. But I didn't start to take notice when there was little price increases on my color, and I wasn't adjusting my prices behind the chair. So as everything is going up, you guys, even if you are using Rusk and 10 and Deep Shine Permanent, with the cost of even styling tools and retail, look at your receipt every time. And I want you to look at the end of the year when you're done working, because we have to do our expenses when you're an independent stylist in your studio, and compare your prior years. Okay. And this is where we're going to set our benchmarks and see, okay, I spent this much in color, this much per client. And there's a full math equation that I do specifically to make sure I profit the most. I charge by hour. So my hourly, some people are like, I could never do that. Either my clients don't pay that much or I'm going to have to charge so much. But when you do the math, you're actually charging the same that you were, maybe a little bit more, but your clients understand it more. You know how much you're going to make each day. So what I did is I took what I made for the year, and then that was my full total for the year. And then how many weeks of the year do you work? None of us work 52 weeks. Let's be realistic. Put like 48 weeks and divide it. And you keep breaking it down and you will get that hourly. And so my hourly came out to 120 an hour. Now let me backtrack. So 120 an hour is very amazing when I'm using Rusk and 10. Okay. This is where my girls really profit and my clients see it valuable. My Rusk and 10, I have my client coming in for gray root touch up. Okay. Girlfriend used to be in my chair for a hot minute, usually about an hour, 45, 2 hours, depending, because you have to apply the color, process 45 minutes to an hour, rinse, cut, like the whole thing. With Rusk and 10, I can get that client done in an hour. I can get roots. I can even get a full gloss touch up by using the new Express glosses. I can get a haircut. I can get a treatment with a 2-minute hair mask. I can get a haircut all in an hour. And my hourly includes gratuity. So that client's only paying 120 for all of that. But I have my clients now that are coming in for their 3, 4, 5-hour appointments paying those hourlies. But when they're coming in for their maintenance, they're getting a bang for their buck and they're really seeing the value. And I'm no longer having to double book, because now that hour, I used to love when I had haircut days, because I'm like, bam, bam, hour. You know how much money you're making each hour off that haircut. Now with gray roots, instead of having to double book and stressing yourself out because Sally was 10 minutes late, now you're 10 minutes late for the rest of your day. Now you can treat those gray roots like you do your haircuts and you can profit. And those girls coming in for their gray roots, I usually do the works on them 2 or 3 times a year. So they're like, this is a steal. But in the same sense, I'm really profiting. And when I look at my day, I know if I am booked X amount of hours, that is exactly how much I'm going to make. It's not a guessing game, because too often we're like, okay, so Sally's booked for a partial today, but she sits down and maybe she's like, I think I just need a haircut or this or that. And the service goes from a bigger service that you thought you were going to do and you were banking on that amount to much smaller. Now they know they're booked for this amount of time and that's how much it is. And there's no crazy cost where they're like, oh, that's much more. There's no surprises. So that, you guys, is my tidbits for being successful in my studio. I have a bunch more, but that's going to come in later weeks. So make sure you take those opportunities when they come. Find those opportunities that you want to do. Help get rid of any of that burnout by going down a different avenue in our industry. And then the other is, I want you guys to go and look at your color expenses. How much are you spending on one tube of color and how much is it getting you? Like, how many applications is it getting you? If you aren't using the Deep Shine Permanent or the Rusk and 10, sorry, my voice. Give me a second. Let me take a sip. Oh, there we go. Okay, much better. So if you're not using those, I want you guys to really look into them because that is what has changed my game with income on my color. Game changer right there. And also they have universal developers. So with all the Rusk color line, you're not having to have a different developer for your demi, for your liquid, for your bleach, for no, it is, they have 0 lift, 10 vol, 20 vol, 30 vol, 40 vol. Cut down the cost of all the others that you're not using, have that one, and then you can stock more of that. Good color tips. Any questions you guys want, because I'm going to get into little color technique behind me. If you guys have any questions about anything regarding to suite, studio, booth rent, heck, I've even done commission. If you guys have questions about that, let me know and I can answer anything on that. Universal developers to be most yes, literally in my studio, my space is limited. And I remember before Universal, it was like developers everywhere and you have big bottles. So like being able to have them all pretty in one spot and I know my inventory, it's been the nicest thing. All right, you guys, let's get into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you first what I'm going to do today, and then I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. So I'm going to show you guys how to do the perfect hairline. Okay. This has become the biggest thing in our industry, is really detailing out the hairline, whether it's this bold money piece or a soft, beautiful ribbon. It's definitely become an accessory to all hair color. And there's so many ways to do it out there. It can get very confusing. I will get into gray just after this. So it can get very confusing. So I want to show you guys the foolproof way that has worked for me. It's consistent and I can really customize it to whether they really want a big and bold or a soft ribbon. So that's what we're going to get into. For resistant gray hair, do you use 10 or 20 volume? This is a great question. So with gray hair, I actually love to use, and this is with Rusk, I'm speaking to Rusk specifically. I love to use 0 lift and 10 vol, and I will mix 1 to 1. Your developer is the higher the developer you use, it's going to eat through that pigment quicker. So when I'm using a 0 lift or a 10 volume, I'm going to get more depth, more pigments, because that developer isn't eating through it. If your client is 100% gray coverage though, make sure you're using the amount of N or NN to get that pigmentation to cover that gray that you are needing. Your coverage for your gray with Rusk is going to be the color in the bowl and not your developer. If I'm working on a blonde and I need that brighter root, that's when I might use that 20 volume. But when it comes to resistant gray, 1 to 1, and I'll either use a 0 lift or a 10 volume. And Rusk and 10 specifically, I will add a ribbon of Boost, because Boost is clear and it's going to raise the alkaline and it's going to swell open that cuticle and allow for a better deposit. And a ribbon of it goes a really long way. Also, don't forget with Rusk and 10, it's American level system. So if your client is a level 6 in European, you need to drop 1 full level, because that one full level, you might feel like you're not getting that coverage. So make sure you're dropping a full level. Another great tip is to use a anchor color. So you're using your 6N and you just need a tad bit more oomph and depth, but you don't want to drop to that 5 or make it a 5.5. Take a ribbon of a 5NN and add it in there. Those anchor colors are really going to help, and it's just a ribbon of it. Myth debunked. 10 volume mix 1-to-1 per resistant gray. Hallelujah. That's how you do it. And I get so much grief for it, but that is the best way to mix it. What is an anchor color? Deepen your result by using a ribbon of a darker shade. Yes. Anchor is something it took me many years to kind of like figure out the term, but an anchor color is really great. Even if you're not looking at gray coverage, say you're wanting to add just a hint of some gold or some hint of an ash, anchor it with that. All right, you guys, I'm going to move this chair. You're going to see Miss Sally. I like to use the name Sally. So we have Sally the mannequin here. And what I'm going to show you guys is the products that I'm going to be using on her today. So for my developer, we're going to be using there we go, the Rusk Universal Developer. Now, their new developers that you see that are universal have the black labeling on them. So that's how you'll know it's the universal, works with everything. We're using a 20 volume today. Then when it comes to which is my favorite lightener with Rusk, there's 3 of them. And they all have like a purpose for them. And today I'm going to be using Bright White. You're going to get up to, let me see if I can get that for you, 7 levels of lift. Bright White is my go-to for a lot of foiling. And I'm going to make sure that I mix it 1 to 2. It's very important when I do foil work that you're mixing what is recommended. And the 1 to 2 is so important, because if it's too thick, trying to get that saturated in the foil is going to be a nightmare. You're going to go through a ton of product in that one little bowl. Then the developer, the more developer you use with your lightener, it's going to dilute it down more. So it's not going to make it as harsh. So since we're doing a foil, it's going to be with heat against the head. I don't need a 1-to-1, and I'm not doing anything open-handed. So 1 to 2 mix ratio. Next up, I'm going to show you guys the tools that I'm going to be using, and this is a part of my giveaway today. I'm being sponsored by From today, and I'm going to be using their pop-up foils. Pop-up foils are essential and a must. At first, I thought it was bougie. I don't need that, but when I started, it makes a difference with your foil work. So when I pull out the foil, so first of all, it's going to make your life much easier because you're not going to be cutting foils. But then the other thing is, if you can see it on camera, pop-up foils are embossed. And what is the emboss going to do? It's going to help prevent slip, which is really nice because sometimes on those fine hairlines, you're chasing that foil and like holding it on the head. Next up is the cute like little spot it has for your comb. Makes your work a little bit faster. The other thing that I really adore about these foils is not only are they cute, but they're thicker. They're not the same type of foil. Like we've all used the Reynolds foil. That is for food for a reason. Let's use hair foil because it's thicker. It's going to insulate. And I think it makes our clients feel better versus seeing a Reynolds box come out that they see in their kitchen. Let them see something professional and beautiful like this. That is going to change and up your service. And you guys, I'm doing a giveaway tonight, so I want to see those comments. And here in a little bit, we might do it. I'm going to have Ashley look. She just put up the giveaway right here. It's the Palm Foils 500 pack soft color brushes and color bowls. You guys, these color brushes I'm obsessed with. I use them all the time for foiling and painting. So leave your comments. The more active you are, we're going to pick somebody at random, and we're going to pick you from the comments. So the more you're engaging, the more opportunity you have for this giveaway. So we got our tools that we're going to be using. Another thing that I want to talk about is when it comes to your foiling comb, I like to use a extra long tail. It gives me more ability to get more space, more real estate on the head. What brush am I using? Usually I would use the From Soft Brush, but I'm going to be using my Rusk brush today since I'm going to be using my Rusk bowl with my Rusk color. But from the soft brushes, Those brushes are really, really great. And with their tools as well, what you'll see is their soft brushes are great for balayage because they're soft. Then they have their traditional brushes, which are really great for foils. And then they have their extra large. Extra large ones, I'm not saying don't, but there's a tool for every reason. Like you're not going to use a butter knife to cut a steak. Same thing with the extra large color brushes. They're large and in charge, and they're going to cover your roots really fast for you. So that's my little tidbit on brushes. Love the colors. See, you guys are getting in here now. Okay. So now for our sectioning. When you guys, I'm going to adjust my gooseneck so you can see what I'm doing a little bit better. All right. How many of you have seen a client or a picture where they have their beautiful money piece here, but then underneath here, the stuff that comes over the shoulder is dark? How many of you guys have seen that? It drives me bonkers. That is one of the areas we want to make sure when we are sectioning, we're connecting the hairline, because we can have a cute, bright, fun piece, but we want to connect it and have that brightness come underneath. So when we go to section them for this technique, what I'm going to do is, let me move her closer. We are going to take it, first of all, let me redo the sectioning so you guys can see it from the start. When we're working with it, sometimes when I was like a money piece, we need to start here in the front and work our way back. Yes, you can do that, but this way, it's going to give you consistent results with the sectioning, okay? So how I like to do my money pieces is ask them where their natural part is. We're going to start off that. Sally has the middle part, so that's where we're at. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a forward diagonal section. So if they want it to be a thick, thick piece, I'm going to come back here. And that's what you're going to ask them. Do you want it to be bold, medium, or just a soft hint? That's exactly how I say it. And if they're not sure, pull up pictures, because a too bold money piece on somebody who is not ready, they're going to hate it. So visuals are great. So depending on how bold they want it is going to be how much I'm going to come back. But when I come back, I am not just coming horizontal. We are going to come back and we're going to shift diagonal, because what that's going to do is it's going to create internal brightness. In my section, I'm doing all in one scoop from the front hairline all the way to the back. So here's her ear, and now I'm connecting it to her back hairline. And I'm going to make sure I put my gooseneck like right in front of me so you guys can really see it much closer. And by doing this first section of sectioning out the hairline, it's going to allow you to have that visual right there on what you want to see. Because sometimes I used to do the front hairline, and once I was done to that, I'd move to the back. Let's connect it all together. And one of the big connecting parts is the back behind the ear, right here, to the back hairline to the front hairline. Always make sure you get right here. So it's this spot right at the ear. When you don't connect there, when the hair is down, you don't have that even flow. Is that right underneath the occipital bone? For back underneath here, I'm literally going in about 3 foils worth. So it's kind of on my mannequin. You can put it how thick you want it in the back as well. If you want them to be really bright and blonde, and say you're going for a big, bold blonde look, I would take a thicker section in the back. If, say, they're a soft brunette and you're just making sure to get that connect like I'm going to do today, just do a few, just enough to connect it. So you can take it all the way up to the occipital, or just a few in. And I am staying below the parietal ridge in the back area of her head. And like I said, you guys, I'm going to flip this so you guys can see everything much better. Now, the next step we're going to talk about is your first foils, okay? So our first foils that we place, are we going to do it as a teasy light or as a baby light? I was struggling because I was like, all lived in color, and I'm like, I'm just going to teasy. So then they're going to have lived in hair and they're not going to have to worry about that harsh grow. But then I started to notice they weren't bright. So what I recommend when I do my first foil, and my first foil, what I'm talking about is the first foil right here. All the first foil, that is your first foil all around that hairline, we're going to take a like baby micro weave. That baby micro weave is going to be just enough to give that brightness that they need. And also when I'm doing my baby micro weaves, I am not taking their postpartum hair that's broken, that's that long, or their baby hairs that's that long. I am not highlighting little pieces along the hairline. Why? Anybody? Anybody? I don't highlight those because then it looks like broken hair. If you have a highlighted blonde piece that's that long, it looks like your stylist just fried off your hair. So if they do have a lot of baby hairs or they have a harder hairline, pick them all out. I'll sometimes take my finger and then I will rub it along the hairline and get all those pieces out. And then I will start my micro piece. Yes, and breakage. All right. So now we're going to get the mixture going and I'm going to get everything turned around. I'm going to get my mix of, put in the comments, do you guys know what the mix ratio is for bright white? Do you guys remember what I said the mix ratio was going to be? Do you use only 20 volume or start with 10? My volumes, honestly, when I am foiling, I use nothing over a 20. Today I'm using a 20 because we got Sally the mannequin. She has no heat. 1 to 2. Yes, Stephanie. So typically when I am foiling on almost any of mine, I use 0 lift or 10 volume, you guys. I start with that. Maybe I start with my 0 lift and then I will bump it up to a 10. If they have a lot of hair and I've been working, I might use my last foils as a 20. Low and slow is how it is. I believe that going low and slow, it's going to keep the integrity of the hair better. And then therefore, you are going to end up with a better toning gloss experience. Because if you blow open that cuticle with a 30 or a 40 or a 20 that's been sitting on there forever, think about when you go to put that gloss on, it's going to take way too much, be unpredictable in any areas that are damaged. You're going to have damaged. And when they go home and wash their hair, guess what? That gloss isn't going to last as long because you blew open that cuticle. So low and slow, like a good pot roast. That's what I say when it comes to your developers. So we're going to mix it. And when it comes to mixing your lightener as well, yes, I have a 20 volume right now. And in some of my girls where they're just quick, they're getting a 20 vol if they're not going to be on there for long. Hand painting, you guys will see me with a 20 volume. That is my go-to for hand painting. How long is your average application? You know, it varies. It depends. I usually say an hour. Some it takes me 30 minutes. Some it takes me 15. But I'm a pretty quick colorist, I would say. So I can get through a head very fast. Unless they're like one of those girls with that ponytail like that you know you're just going to be there all day. Low and slow. So as I was saying, when we are also mixing our lightener, slow. The faster you mix your lightener, you're going to put more air into it. And what is air going to do? It's going to create it to swell. And we don't want it to swell. So you can either use a spatula, which is really good because you're not going to get any air using a spatula, and just slowly mix it. I know we get in a hurry, you guys, sometimes, and you're like, I need to stir this. Slow it down, because if you have bleeders in your foils, this is going to help preventing that. It's going to be one of those tidbits that's going to help. All right, let's get into it. Now, give me a second, you guys. I want to make sure that I get this in a position where you guys can see. So if you get motion sickness, move aside because I'm going to lower this down to like my level so you guys can see. You're going to be directly in front of me. I cannot see your questions you're asking, but Ashley's going to answer anything for you guys as I'm doing this application because I want you guys to see. I'm just going to be talking about what I'm doing. Okay. All right. So let me make sure I'm looking from the side that you guys can see it all perfectly. There we go. All right. So we're going to start in the front. And when I section, I'm just going to let that stuff fall. You don't need to add a bunch of clips on here unless you feel the need and you get overwhelmed with it. By all means, you can do that. So we're going to start here. We're going to come to the front. And I always start right here. I can never start up here. And what we're going to do is we're going to apply our first little micro. And now since she really doesn't have a hairline, I'm going to take the smallest little section that I can right here. And I'm just going to pull it out. And you want this first section to really be a micro, tiny section. And now we're going to pull out our pop-up foil. Place it over. Now with putting your hair onto the foils, we don't want to just go under like that. Let's lift it straight up, place the foil under. See how much closer that is? So that's when I lift it versus coming in. Okay, so that's a little pro tip. Lift the hair up, place it down, get the tension, take your 2 fingers and press it against the head. So you can have a lot of tension. You're as close as you can be to the head. I never apply my lightener straight there at the root. We're going to apply and we're going to move it down. And I'm going to hold and anchor and just keep working. I think this was my hardest foil when I first started as a hairstylist to do, was this very first one. It would like slide. It would go everywhere. It was like I was like chasing it. And she's got a lot of hair. So what I like to do is I just take the hair, place it on the foil, and I'm not going to sit there and like try to like wind it up. We're just going to apply the lightener right onto it and make sure that you have really good saturation. And then I like to come through and we're going to take the corner of our brush and we're going to feather it. Now, when it comes to folding, you guys, let's not squeeze our foils. If I was to squeeze it, you're going to create a crease in your color as well. We're going to fold. We're not going to crease any of that. We're going to create our cute little pocket. Use our tail right there. And I like to make it the same size as the section of hair that's below for how much I take. So we're going to take that guy. Then we're going to work up. And how this application is going to work is I'm not going to keep going like this. We're going to start to pivot like that. Because as I pivot, sorry, I shook that. We're going to pivot underneath and we're going to create this brightness that's going to drop down and forward. It's like a hidden peekaboo almost. So then this next one, this is going to be your interpretation. Do you want to make it like a teasy where it's lived in? Do you want to make it another tiny like baby light and really detail this? I'm a lived in queen. That is my go-to. Now what I want to make sure you guys do is when you do the lived in, I'm going to move this, pull it forward, okay? So when we do teasies, don't just like let it hang. With teasies, I'm going to over direct the hair forward because this is going to give me what? Blend insurance. And then when I place in my comb, we're not going to sit here and wrap up the hair because that is going to be a nightmare to get out. So we're going to over direct it forward. We're going to place in, I'm making sure you guys can see this. We're going to place our comb in and then the tension on my hand that's holding it, I'm barely holding it and we're going to push. Okay. Because if I wanted to, I could come back in and I could get this out. Okay. That is exactly how I want all of my teasies to be. So I'm not killing their head. And what I also noticed too is I believe that's too big of a section. So I'm going to subdivide it. You want to make sure that they're small enough too, that you're getting that good saturation on them. So let's do this again. We're going to over direct it to the front of your client, place in our comb, and then we're going to push it. Okay. Push it real good. And now my other tip is we're going to take our clip and we're going to clip it and hold it right there. And that's going to hold your tease in for you. That's going to prevent it from when we take our foil and we place it. Get over there, girl. You're not playing here. When we place it under and we start to apply our lightener, that tease will come out, especially with those fine hair girls. Now, when I apply my lightener, I'm not going to just go straight on. I'm going to do an upward motion. So we're going to apply and feather up. This is also blend insurance. That is making sure that you're going to get that gradient blend when this all comes out and fully saturate. And then once again, we're going to take those ends and then we're just going to kind of put them up there for me instead of chasing them around. And we're going to apply. If you guys have any questions, I cannot see you. Type them in there. Ashley, she will respond back. You'll see it via Rusk.
You're just getting a lot of love, Katie. No question. Just a lot of love.
I love hearing that. Thank you.
And anyone that wants to rewatch this can actually watch it from Facebook. So it will live on Facebook as a live. So you can always go back and rewatch it.
Yeah. So if you guys ever have a client that you know that's coming in and you forgot how to do this technique, you can always go back. It's going to be a little library that you guys are going to now have access to. So now we're going to start pivoting, and this is your own preference as well. You know, you can work from here down or here up. It's just kind of whatever flows best for you. Sometimes I base mine off of how that client's hair is falling. And these are honestly going to be all teasies. Teasy, teasy, teasy. And like I said, if you want a brighter, we can do foils. So if I wanted to be brighter, I could even do the micro I did there with the teasy. Put her back down. And then I could come through and then I could do a back-to-back highlight right here. Literally, you guys, I want you to have freedom with this. Customize it for your client. The more teasies that you do, the more lived in it's going to be. The more micros and babies that you do, the brighter it's going to be. And you can even take I like to do micro slices too. So we're lifting up, placing under, and then pulling tight. And we're going to push that foil up in there. I sometimes will do like back to back to back baby lights. And you're like, well, what's the point of that? You're going to end up with something really chunky. When it is underneath this hairline, you guys would be shocked. You can really, really lay in these foils and stack them in. I sometimes have a foil just stack, 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 stack. And then what I like to do is say I want a little bit of a root on them. I will go through with my Express Gloss. And I typically will like to use a level 7 because with our Express glosses, they gloss in just 5 minutes. But after that 5-minute mark, they're going to progressively get darker. So that's why the level 7 has become my best friend, because I can get it on real quick. And then by the time that it's done, I can rinse it. Or if I'm working on a beauty that has like, say, a level 5, I just keep it on and I keep checking it. And it's not going to take as long as, say, your traditional gloss. It's not going to take 20 minutes. So you're going to cut down your time by using the Express Gloss. Use the 7. If, say, you're like, girl, I am not that fast. I cannot get that on in 5 minutes and then it's going to change darker. That's fine. The Express Glosses, you can also intermix with any of the Deep Shine Demi glosses as well. So say you're like, okay, I want to cut down the time. I'm going to use a level 7, but my girl is a level 6. So do equal parts. So 50% of your formula is going to be 7N Express, and then the other is going to be your 6N. After that 5-minute mark, just take a towel and lightly wipe the hair in an area and see if it's at the color you want. Usually I can get the color I want when I'm mixing equal parts of the Express with the Deep Shine Demi in about 8 minutes, which is amazing, especially when Sally showed up late and you're chasing your tail and you're trying to get caught up. These color tools are the tools for you to use to get caught up in your day. And I'm literally just going to keep working up this hairline. I'm now going to work up the top, and I'm going to move her forward so she can face you guys a little bit better. Let me get her in. Move her. There we go. Okay. So now we're going to come over here. I'm going to clip away this guy because I don't want it to play. Even when I balayage, I will clip away the other side. We're going to come through here and try and get a nice, cute little micro. This part right up here can be really hard too, you guys. How many of you, this is connecting as well. How many of you guys have seen right here where the hairline starts to churn? You end up with a black hole there. It's happened to me more times than I'd like to admit. And that comes down to detail work. So usually you can't just take a full foil. I could on her because she's a mannequin. But you need to get into these little spots like this if you need to and break this down because you're connecting down here to up to the front hairline. And that's going to be really important with her, since I can literally get a foil in here and I can blend it out. I will do that on her. But really evaluate when you are starting somebody's hairline, you're looking at their entire hairline. You're looking to see what breaks they have. Do they have postpartum hair? Do they have a weird cowlick? What do they have going on these front hairlines that you need to adjust to and you can think about while you're mixing your color? I will look at any new client's hairline, and then when I go to mix their color, that's when I'm thinking in my head my plan of attack. And see, there's a gap from here to her front, but we're going to push up with my hand underneath. We're going to use the corner of the brush, and we're going to use our hand underneath as really like a board. That's what's going to keep it nice and stable. I know you guys have been seeing people use a lot of the highlighting boards. Nothing wrong with that. I think they are hard to use around the front hairline. And you just keep working it and working it, getting it in there. Once again, I grab the ends and I lift them up and I put them in. This just makes your life so much easier and you're not meshing around the hair. I feel like when you're trying to put all the hair in the foil, that you can make it get crazy. There's product everywhere. It's all about keeping your work neat and clean. You're going to have neat and clean end results as well. I'm very tedious on making sure that everything is how it should be. Now, what I also want to point out too is, say right here, see there's that gap? So I rinse her out and I'm looking and I'm like, oh no. And I'm like, it just doesn't look good. Well, guess what you can use as a little tool for those oopsies? Get out that 7N gloss, that Express, mix up just a little bit and dab it along this front hairline where you did those micros, say they slipped or something. 5 minutes and you're going to blur out that line. And with the Express gloss, it is going to last you 23 washes. If you guys have seen me, I put a shadow root on my hair, and I have had that shadow root since I was at the BTC show, and I've washed it a ton of times. So these Express glosses, they really do last. Now I want to make sure I get a good angle of this for you guys. I'm going to back it up. All right, what I'm going to do when I start to get to the top of the head, what I'm going to do is I'm going to elevate the hair into my teasies, and I'm going to elevate it forward. So see how I'm standing right here, it's going forward and elevating. And when I place my tees in, let me face her towards you guys. When I place my tees, I really want you guys to see this, bear with me. Okay, so that's the front of her head. When I am placing in my comb and I'm pushing down, I'm going to have a thicker and more tease here than I am up towards the front. And what is that going to create? Back here, we're going to have a lot more of a tease. So what's that going to create? That's going to create more of a root, versus up here, we're going to have less of a tease. So it's going to be brighter. And then what is that going to also create for us? That is going to create a gradient blend. It's always making sure, sorry, I dropped my comb. It's always making sure that you have your blend for your blend. Now I can see you guys. If you guys have questions, I'm looking at the front. Do you guys have any questions as I'm working through this now that I can see you guys? See my face now? More depth, creates dimension. Yes, working with your tees is really going to create different depth and dimension. Let me place this one, and then I'm going to show you guys the difference of teases. Now, see how I'm elevating this straight up and I'm not laying it down. We're going to elevate it up in the same way that I did when I teased it. So we're lifting it up and I'm placing it under, and we're placing it at a diagonal. We're going to take our fingers, push that foil. Now, sometimes you do need to take your comb, and we're going to comb and push up that hair so it's not in that foil, because any of that teasied hair, you don't want to highlight it because it's going to give you splotches. And once I push it all up, we're going to get our clip and we're going to skim. When you clip it just up here, it's going to get these guys that I put in there, and it's going to make sure that they stay out of the way. So now we're going to come in and we're going to feather up. Feathering up is going to create what? More blend. All right, let me get this one applied, and then I'm going to show you guys more of the back of the head. I could literally sit here all night and talk color, but we're starting to wind down on time. So I want to make sure that I hit on all of the points for you guys. So you're pretty much going to go through this sectioning that I showed you, and you're either going to do teasy lights, baby lights, heck, mix them up, have fun. Get a mannequin and play. And when you get mannequins, I like to say, try to mess it up. Try to get in there and create something that may not be beautiful in your mind. And you might be shocked how beautiful that ends up coming to be. So let me lock it in. And when hair is longer too, I sometimes like to keep it in a longer packet because we're not going to get that indentation. And another tip is when you have these foils on your client's face, think of the heat that is right here on them. These foils that are right here against the face are going to process like that, even if you're using a zero lift. I like to take some cotton, you know, your perm cotton that you use. I'm going to take that and I'm going to place it underneath. And first of all, your client's going to love it because they're not sweating to death. And it's going to remove that foil off their face and slow down the processing time. When I get to the back of the head and I have the foils on the back, I will place a towel right up underneath their neck and then I clip it because it keeps it off their neck. So we're going to drop down this front piece, but I would keep working up in the same manner here. Now we're in the back. And with the back, you guys make sure, especially with this piece right here, that we are connecting all the way back, all the way to right there behind the ear. That is a very important connection point for you, okay? But now I want to show you guys the differences in your teases. So we're going to push this up. With the back hairline, you're going to treat it just like you did the front hairline. I want you guys to do a micro, and then after that, decide if you want to do slice or whatnot. I usually follow the same section here that I did here for pattern. Okay, so now we're going to show you guys when we get into teasing. Say we just want a little bit of a blend at the root, then what we're going to do is we're only going to place it in right here, 25% of what the hair is, okay? Can you guys see that? So we're going to place it right here and we're going to push up and we're going to tease, okay? Say we want to have a little bit more, but we still don't want to have that rooted feel. Then that's when I'm going to come down like 30% and then we're going to push up. Because however much hair that you are pushing up is going to be how much is going to be put into that root. So the more hair we are teasing and pushing up, the more depth and root you're going to get. So like when I have my really bright blondes that I want it to look like I did a shadow root, but I didn't, I'm going through a fine slice and then I'm coming right up here at the root and I'm just teasing at the root and then feathering there. For my girls that I want to have that really deep lived in, we're going to do 50% of the tease. And with this hand, I'm lightly holding it. I'm holding it enough where that hair can move up, but I'm not holding it so tight where it's just stuck. So this is the perfect hairline. If you guys do it, tag me in it. I would love to see it and I will reshare it. And now comes the time. I'm going to let Ashley pick the winner of the giveaway because all of you guys have been here watching me and you deserve to get some amazing tools. So Ashley, I would love for you to go into the comments and pick at random who was commenting and interacting the most, and they will be the winner of our giveaway.
So I have to go with Teray, and I apologize if I'm not saying this right, but look at this, Katie. How awesome is this? Oh, wait, hold on, the wrong one. So Teray, if I understand correctly, is currently with her students watching this.
Oh my gosh, that makes, yes. Yes.
And she said, I'm trying to find the comment. I apologize, but it says, oh, here we go. My student, oh yeah, my students are writing notes, the financial part. How awesome is that?
That's amazing. And that is setting up the future of hairstylists right there. And that just like warmed my heart. Thank you.
Me too. So Teray, congratulations. You are the winner of the Pro giveaway. If you can direct message us, I also want to talk to you about how we can support your school, but you can direct message us on Instagram or Facebook. And oh, her class is cheering. I want to cry.
You have to take a picture and send it to me on Instagram, and
oh
I'm going to
yes.
post your class. That's amazing.
That is awesome. Yeah, see, I mean, come on, everybody here has got to definitely have some excitement for that. So congratulations, and we will absolutely get you set up with some more support, but you are the winner. So please DM us so we can get your information and send it to you.
Awesome. Congrats. All right, we have a few minutes, you guys. I'm going to look up if there's any important questions you have. Put them in. I am scrolling up right now and checking, and ask me right now. Why does elevation matter for tees? So what elevation is going to help with is if we have a low elevation and I'm putting that tease in, it's going to push that tease much lower. So when I put my foil underneath, that foil is not going to get as close to that root. So when I'm elevating up and I know I need to get closer into that root and I want a deep root, I'm going to elevate it nice and high all the way up, almost like 90 right there. So when I take my foil and I place it underneath, you're going to have a lot of that tease there, but you're going to be able to get in much closer to the root. So the higher your elevation is, the closer that foil is going to get. So that's why elevation is really, really important. And that was a good question. Let me keep reading through here and then I'll scroll down. Yes, take smaller sections. You should be able to see through them. And why? Because that is saturation. Saturation is key. You want to be able to read a newspaper underneath that section. You got that correct. I just can't ever get it to seamlessly blend. Like there's always a harsh line. So that's blend insurance. It's each step that you're taking from directing it to how much of your teas you're going to have in there, really being aware, clipping away that. And then, like I said, the fun tool to use is the Express Gloss. If you have those oops, 5 minutes, you guys, and it's going to be quick. And speaking on that, let me go down to the bottom of the comments. DM Rusk or educator. Send Rusk a DM on Instagram, and that's Ashley, and she'll talk to you directly. So what I'm going to show you guys is the Express glosses, which are beautiful. So on my mannequin, I would gloss her equal parts 9P and 9VR. Those are like my favorite cool formulas. You guys want to see them on the swatches? So this is just after 5 minutes, and this is them separately. I use equal parts on any of my girls that want that really cool color. I have my other swatches here. So let me show you guys the 7N. This is the 7N. This guy can literally help you with anything, and you can intermix if you need that shadow root, if you have that whoops. Sometimes you need to use a shadow root, and a shadow root, please always use a demi, because when you use a demi, there's permanent color and there's demi. Permanent color is like a black legging. Put it over your leg, you're not going to see your skin. So if you take a permanent color and put it over your highlights, they're just going to look rooted. So we want to use a demi. A demi is like a black pantyhose over your leg. You're going to see your skin, but it gives that sheer opaque. So you put that on the root, those highlights that you put all the way up that you want to have that blend to, use that demi, and it's going to give you that gradient blend. So if you're still getting those harsh lines, just try working with a demi and put a shadow root on, call it a day, and it's quick and easy. And so right now there's 4 colors. There's the 7N, 6NW, 9P, and 9VR. I use them every day. The 6NW is really great for those brunettes that you're using the 10-minute color on the roots and they need a refresh, because we don't refresh with permanent color. We do with demi. So after it's been on the roots for 5 minutes, I lay them in the shampoo bowl. I put my 6NW all over their hair, 5 minutes, wash, you're good. Our time is wrapped up. I could keep talking, you guys. It has absolutely been amazing. I'm looking forward to next Wednesday, and you guys can always find me here every Wednesday, 5:30 Mountain Time, 7:30 Eastern Time. Any questions you guys have, you can reach me directly at KDB Hair, or you can also follow Rusk and myself. Any questions, we are here to support you guys and set you guys up for anything you need and help hold your hand like I wish I had in this industry. So I'm here to hold your guys' hand for anything you need. And I hope you guys have a very beautiful rest of your night or day, depending where you're at. And I hope to see all of you guys next Wednesday, and bring more of your hair besties. I would love to make this a bigger group. So we'll see you guys later. Love you. Thank you guys. Bye.